In the quiet of a dark room, a young man lies asleep in his bed, unaware of what is about to happen, and so a sinister presence watches over him, declaring with possessive intent that the boy belongs to it. Suddenly, a horrifying, red-eyed creature with a wicked smile appears above him, surrounded by other monsters, all wanting to claim him. The main creature opens its massive jaw, its long, sharp tongue lashing out toward the sleeping youth's neck. At the very last second, his eyes snap open, filled with terror as he sees the monster about to strike. He lets out a sharp cry and jolts upright in bed, throwing the blankets aside in a state of panic. Shaken, he sits up and clutches his throat, trying to convince himself that it was only a nightmare. With sweat on his brow, he stares into the dimly lit room, his expression still filled with fear. His confusion grows as he scans the unfamiliar surroundings, wondering where he is. A memory flashes in his mind of his own body lying on the ground, making him clutch his head in disbelief, and so his eyes widen in shock as he is hit with a sudden flood of memories that don't seem to be his own. He sees fragments of another life, one where he was a top scholar and a dedicated student. After processing the conflicting memories, he realizes he has accidentally transmigrated into this world. He collapses in despair, realizing that the body's original owner, Baijai, was a person with no good qualities. But then he pauses, thinking that perhaps there was one redeeming thing about the former Baizi, and so he remembers that this guy somehow had 7 different girlfriends during his freshman year of college. However, the previous owner had no real interest in women and only used them to scam money for online games. The new Baiji clenches his fist, finding his predecessor's actions to be both despicable and strangely impressive. Needing some air, he gets up from the bed and walks over to the window, sliding it open. He accepts that his old self is gone and decides to make the most of this second chance by living a peaceful life. He immediately rejects his earlier thought, deciding that a peaceful life is not for him after all. And scene shifts to the school cafeteria, where the young man suddenly gets noticed by someone. An orange-haired girl named Lin Xiaoya confronts him, questioning why he is even there. Her friend Xiaowen stands beside her. He looks shocked as a memory of the original Baiji being harshly rejected by the same girl surfaces, and so his focus shifts to her friend, where he sees a monstrous face on the back of the short-haired girl's head. The monstrous face snarls with red eyes as Lin Xiaoya continues to yell, calling him a scumbag who plays with girls' feelings. Its horrifying mouth opens wide, revealing countless sharp teeth and a long, dripping tongue. As the creature lunges, he quickly pushes the orange-haired girl out of the way, warning her to watch out. A shadowy figure emerges from Xiaowen's body, much to the other girl's shock and disbelief. The creature, a bored-faced resentment, towers over them, complaining about how hungry it is. He immediately rethinks his assessment of this world, realizing demons and monsters walk around openly. He calmly looks around and picks up a bone from a leftover meal on a nearby table. Holding up the bone, he offers to give the creature food since it claims to be so hungry. He then throws the bone across the room, telling the monster to go fetch it. It instinctively chases after the bone, and he smirks and calls it a good doggy, leaving the creature momentarily confused with the bone in its mouth. So the monster becomes furious at being treated like a dog and lunges at him, vowing to eat him. Without flinching, he raises a nearby food tray to block the creature's incoming attack. He smashes the tray of leftovers onto the monster's head, telling it dogs eat leftovers so food is not wasted. The creature screams in frustration as he begins a long, condescending lecture about not being picky. Overwhelmed and annoyed, the monster finally gives up and flees, as he waves it away dismissively. With the monster gone, Lin Xiaoyi blushes, thinking Baijai is cool, while her friend Xiaowen sits on the floor, confused and with a headache. He notices his head is covered in oil from the food tray and tells them their friend is fine before deciding to leave. And as he walks away, he assures the girl on the ground that he won't bother her anymore. And Xiaowen gets to her feet and sternly asks her friend what just happened between her and the young man. But Lin Xiaoyi is completely love-struck, happily telling her friend that she thinks she has finally found Mr. Right. Meanwhile, the youth walks away, thinking he needs to make homemade bombs and buy a chainsaw to deal with these monsters. He suddenly stops in his tracks, sensing something is wrong. His gaze shifts to the side, his expression turning serious as he notices something unusual. Down the street, he sees a group of children playing a strange version of hopscotch under a dim streetlight. One of the children turns its head, revealing eerie, glowing red eyes that are completely devoid of pupils. The creepy child invites him to play, while behind it, several men stand dazed, bound by dark ribbons under a blood-red moon. The young man nervously tries to refuse the invitation, but before he can react, the child's hand shoots out with incredible speed. It grabs his wrist with surprising strength, telling him that he is not allowed to say no. He feels a powerful grip on his arm, unable to break free from the small but demonic figure. The child yanks him forward, causing him to lose his balance and cry out in surprise. He is thrown through the air and lands hard on the pavement, as the small creature lets out a gleeful laugh. As he gets up, the demonic child stands before him, announcing that the game is about to begin. A horrifying dark space appears, trapping them in what the child calls the charaba escape game. The young man stares in shock and fear as the sinister child announces that the game is starting. In a brief, humorous moment, the monster chases after a bone representing audience engagement. The hero then encourages viewers to support the series with likes and comments, much to the monster's annoyance. Back in the game, the demonic child sits surrounded by small puppet dolls, pleased to have another one to play with. He picks up a doll that looks just like Baijia, admiring its appearance and declaring that he wants it. With a horrifyingly wide grin, the creature opens its mouth and prepares to eat the small puppet. But a small girl with her hair in buns suddenly appears and slaps the creature on the head, calling it an idiot. The demonic child falls to the ground, asking the girl what she thinks she is doing, and so she scolds him for hunting humans who can't fight back, warning that it will attract the attention of official players. And so pointing to the street below, she informs him that the players have already arrived on the scene. A team of 3 appears, with their captain telling a young newbie that he is on support for this mission, and the captain reminds the new player that he is not suited for dangerous tasks. As the demonic child watches from the rooftop, the creature assesses the group, identifying their levels and considering their arrival a stroke of good luck. He then turns to the girl and offers to team up, but she floats beside him and flatly refuses his proposal. The girl gives him a final piece of advice, warning him not to underestimate any player, even a level 1. He scoffs at her caution, telling her to leave if she is too scared to take a risk for a reward. As she floats away, she calls him an idiot who is just looking to get himself killed. Inside the game's territory, the walls of a derelict building are shown to be crumbling and old. Suddenly, Baiji bursts through one of the damaged walls, making a forceful entrance, and he runs forward with a shadowy cat-like creature at his heels, wondering why the game is starting with such intensity. And so with a determined look, he presses on through the corridor, ready for whatever comes next. A massive shadow creature suddenly appears in the narrow hallway, letting out a ferocious roar that echoes around him. The monster lunges forward with its glowing green eyes and sharp teeth, causing the young man to scream in terror. He quickly plants his foot on the ground, using the momentum to push himself backward just in time. With a nimble dodge, he narrowly avoids the creature's attack as it crashes past him and hits the wall. He stumbles and falls to the floor, his eyes wide with fear after the incredibly close call. His expression turns serious as he watches the monster, his mind racing to understand the situation. The creature, now revealed to have 2 heads, crawls on all 4s, frantically searching the corridor. So from his position in the shadows, he realizes the 2-headed monster seems unable to see him anymore. He tells himself to calm down, deducing that every strange phenomenon like this must follow a specific set of rules. After a moment of intense thought, he has a flash of insight and finally understands the rules of the game. He recalls the demonic child's shadow ability and concludes that shadows exposed to light are the source of danger here. Hiding in the darkness makes his own shadow vanish, which is why the creature could not find him. But he knows that simply hiding is not enough to survive and decides he needs to find a weapon. He scans the dimly lit room he is in and quickly spots a metal locker against the far wall. The young man cautiously approaches the locker and tries the handle, only to discover that it is locked. Unwilling to give up, he uses his strength to pry the locker door open and looks inside. He expresses frustration upon finding nothing inside that he can use to defend himself. But as his hand reaches deeper into the locker, his fingers brush against something cold on the bottom. He pulls the object out, surprised to find that it is ice cold to the touch and has 5 fingers. To his shock, he realizes he is now holding a severed, pale hand that glows with a faint, eerie light. His face contorts in pure horror as he processes the cold, dismembered hand he is now holding. He immediately flings the hand away, shouting in disgust and jumping back in a panicked reflex. And he looks around the dark room, now wondering if there is another ghost hiding somewhere nearby. But then he pauses, thinking that the ghost hand was surprisingly smooth and felt comfortable to the touch. He peeks back into the locker, finding it strange that a ghost would be scary but also call him a pervert. Suddenly his attention is drawn elsewhere as he feels a soft, warm sensation on his back, and his eyes widen and a blush spreads across his face as he begins to realize what that feeling might be. A girl with pink hair and a baseball bat suddenly bursts into the room, letting out a loud battle cry. She swings the bat wildly at him, screaming for him to stay away while he tries to block the frantic blows. He finally catches the bat, angrily telling her that he is human and she should look carefully before attacking. The girl tearfully explains that she has to hit him because he is human, so he cannot kill her first. He looks completely confused by her logic and asks what she is talking about. The frightened girl explains the rule of the game, saying only the last person standing can leave alive. At that moment, he realizes the second rule of this strange tale has just been revealed, and he kneels down and calmly reassures the girl that neither of them has to die, but she remains skeptical. A confident smirk appears on his face as he declares his plan to use the game's own rules against it. He asks her where the other players are hiding, explaining that he needs everyone to team up and cooperate. Meanwhile, Meanwhile, another player with a bloody bat finds the others, preparing to attack them as they hide. And suddenly, a system message appears, congratulating a player for completing the Battle Royal rule. He is enveloped in a blue light, realizing with satisfaction that his plan worked and the game is not unbeatable. And a sudden scream rips through the air, coming from high up on the school building. Outside, the demonic child laughs as his shadow tendrils capture two terrified players, who are now crying out for help. With a sinister grin, he gloats about how easy it is to bully low-level players by catching their shadows. But his victory is cut short as the hero appears from behind and strikes him hard with a baseball bat. And so the creature falls to the ground, bruised and in disbelief, muttering that it is impossible for anyone to have cleared his game in just 1 hour. The young man stands over him confidently, stating that for him, clearing such a simple rule-based game was easy. He recalls the moment he had to stop the pink-haired girl from attacking him, playfully asking how she could hit the story's male lead. And so, she tearfully explained that the creature had tricked her, saying she would not have to fight if the series got enough viewer support. Back in the present, the defeated demon demands to know how the hero managed to escape the game's rules, and the young man simply smirks, telling the creature that his method of escape was incredibly simple. He explains that the only rule in the shadow domain is the shadow itself, where its presence means danger but its absence means safety. He then recalls getting his plan ready, asking his newfound companion if she was prepared for what was next. Covering the girl's mouth to keep her quiet, he raised the bat high over his own head, and so he then reveals the loophole he found, where if a shadow is destroyed, the game treats it as a real death. With a powerful swing, he brought the bat down and smashed his own shadow on the ground, triggering the game's win condition. The pink-haired girl could only watch in stunned silence as his clever plan unfolded before her eyes. He tells the demonic child that his victory was just an illusion he created by using the shadows to fool the system. The creature grits his teeth in anger, furious that he was careless enough to be deceived by such a ridiculous trick. But he is not completely defeated as his own shadow lashes out, calling the hero an idiot, and the shadow whips past the hero and toward a door, as he realizes with alarm that the creature is now trying to escape. Reacting in a flash, he dives and grabs the creature's shadow just as it tries to slither through the door, and the shadow retracts with a scream, pulling the demonic child back as the other two players watch from a distance. With a confident smirk, he reveals that he knew the creature was just stalling for time to sneak away using its shadow. One of the official players asks his captain if he noticed, but the captain admits he was also fooled by the trick. The hero then turns to the two players, shouting that now is their chance to attack while the monster is exposed. The two men immediately get ready, with one preparing a fiery ability and the other drawing a specialized gun. The player with sunglasses leaps into the air, unleashing a flurry of bright yellow energy blades at the small demon. The powerful energy strikes hit the creature's chest and neck, landing direct hits on their target. The force of the attack sends the demonic child flying backward across the rooftop, unable to defend itself. But the creature rises, enraged and glowing with a sinister purple aura, vowing that they won't get away with this. And the captain calmly aims his gun at the demon, telling it that it will not get the chance to retaliate. The gun glows with a powerful red energy as he charges up a special, high-powered bullet. A red beam shoots out, striking the corner of the building and causing a small explosion. The captain looks through the hole his shot created, the smoke from his gun still rising. The demon survives the blast, gasping for breath with a gaping hole in its chest, much to everyone's surprise. And so, the other player panics and urges his captain to shoot the creature again before it can recover from the attack. The hero watches them, realizing their skills and weapons prove they are official personnel who handle these weird tales. And suddenly, the young newbie player from their squad stumbles onto the roof, looking wounded and terrified. The blonde-haired player shouts his teammate's name, Xuanzai, his expression filled with shock and concern. The newbie collapses, weakly warning them that a killer doll downstairs is hunting the other students. The hero stares blankly for a moment, his expression unreadable as he processes the new information. The captain checks on his injured teammate and confirms he only passed out from blood loss before ordering his partner downstairs. The captain then turns to the hero, asking him to watch over the injured newbie and the shadow demon. He readily agrees. With the two official players gone, he casually walks over to the injured young man on the ground. He greets the newbie, who is still conscious but in a lot of pain from his previous encounter. A wicked grin spreads across the hero's face as he offers to help treat the injured player. He then swings his baseball bat down hard, striking the young man squarely between his legs. The newbie's spirit flies out of his body as he lets out an agonized scream, now regretting ever coming to this place. With his job done, the hero calls out to the other spirit, telling it that the newbie is now on his own. He stands alone on the rooftop, baseball bat in hand, facing off against the wounded shadow demon. And so, He tells the creature that is a good thing he ran into it before, otherwise he would have been fooled by the players. The hero's presence is now surrounded by a purple aura as he informs the demon that it cannot escape, and the shadow creature looks up, its mouth forming a grim line as it mutters about what a pity it is. And so with a final burst of defiance, the demon shouts that it is a pity he could not finish the job. It then lunges at the hero, declaring that if it dies, it will take him down with it. The demonic child latches onto his back and bursts into flames, engulfing them both in a fiery explosion, and so the hero quickly throws the flaming creature off, shouting for it to get away from him as it is sent flying. He looks down at his hand, surprised to find that the fire, while intense, does not seem to hurt him at all. The shadow demon, now burning away, laughs maniacally, warning that killing one weird tale will only summon thousands more. As it disintegrates into ash, the creature's final words echo, promising that he will never escape them. The demon's last words echo with a final threat, vowing that he will never escape, not until death. Its fiery form then completely vanishes into the air, leaving behind only a few fading embers, and Hero scoffs at the empty threat, dismissing the demon's final words as complete nonsense. Suddenly, a blue system window appears, congratulating him on officially obtaining his player qualification. He is now level 1 with a 7-2-hour newbie protection period before the Asura field game officially begins. In a strange vision, the demon is told that the viewer engagement it relied on was just an illusion created by the hero. The demon continues its rant, warning that even the male lead cannot escape what the author has planned for the story, and his player interface then loads, showing his stats and 2 new items in his inventory from the previous game. He reflects on the demon's grudge, understanding that this is a large-scale horror game he cannot afford to lose. His expression hardens with determination as he fully accepts the dangerous new reality he is in. He imagines the immense dangers he might face in the future, such as a giant, monstrous centipede. With a confident grin, he cracks his knuckles, deciding he has no choice but to play this game his own way. Just as he makes his decision, a bright flash of light suddenly erupts on the rooftop, catching him by surprise. The other students from the game appear around him, crying in fear and begging for their lives not to be taken. He quickly realizes they have all escaped the strange tale and are now safely back on the university rooftop. He calmly reassures everyone that the shadow demon has been defeated and the immediate danger is over. So the students rush towards him in tears, calling him their benefactor and thanking him profusely for saving them. One grateful student even declares the hero is his dad, while Baiji tells him to let go of his pants. And sometime later, ambulances have arrived on campus to treat the injured students involved in the incident. As the chaos settles, Lin Xiaoyi and her friend arrive, with the friend pointing out the hero as her, Mr. Right. The captain of the official players approaches the hero and shakes his hand, surprised to see Bai Ji. The man explains he has pieced together the situation, identifying both the shadow demon and the face stealer. He then thanks the young man for his help and offers him a chance to join the official organization, but the hero firmly refuses, stating that he is used to working alone and has no interest in joining any group. The captain seems to understand and accepts his decision without pressing the matter any further. But then he pulls out a card, which the hero assumes is a bribe, and he immediately tells him he will not be bought. The captain insists it is a personal reward of 1 million for saving his life and urges him to accept it. The young man is completely shocked by the enormous amount of money being offered to him. A small devil appears on his shoulder, telling him to take the money since the original Bai Zi was completely broke, and a small angel then appears on his other shoulder, surprisingly agreeing with the devil's practical advice. The captain tells him not to refuse, suggesting they can still be friends and cooperate on future missions, and with a smile, the hero finally accepts the generous offer, much to the delight of his inner angel and devil. And from a distance, Lin Xiaoyi points out to her friend how respectful the officials are, confirming that he is a hero. But her friend is not convinced, reminding her of his 7 girlfriends, which makes the orange-haired girl reconsider. She creates a new narrative where he only pretended to date those girls to solve their supernatural problems. Now fully committed to her fantasy, she declares that she has to be with Bai Zhe, no matter what. So later, back in his room, the hero sits at his computer with the newbie protection countdown timer displayed on the screen. He reads online that players are forced into a mission after their protection period ends, though the first one is usually easy. He stretches and decides to prepare as much as possible, determined not to be caught defenseless again. As he is thinking, a sudden series of knocks at his door startles him, and he looks over with a concerned expression, and he cautiously opens the door, wondering who could possibly be visiting at such a late hour. It is the orange-haired girl, Lin Xiaoyi, who immediately presses him against the wall, leaving them both in a tense silence. And so he finally breaks the quiet, asking her if there is something she needs from him. She is completely taken aback, surprised that he has absolutely no reaction to her sudden and bold arrival. Trying to be charming, she strikes a pose and confidently asks him to go out with her, and the young man is just annoyed, thinking about how much trouble these persistent girls are becoming. He bluntly tells her to leave immediately and to never come near him again, before slamming the door. But from outside, she defiantly shouts that she will never give up and will follow him wherever he goes. The next day at school, she keeps her promise, cheerfully calling out to him as he walks across the campus. She continues to follow him everywhere, even offering him food while her friend watches with a wary expression. He tries his best to ignore her, but she relentlessly follows him down every hallway, constantly calling his name. And so finally reaching his limit, he asks if she is seriously planning on following him into the men's restroom. She smiles sweetly and tells him she will just wait for him right outside the door until he is done. He sits in the stall, completely exasperated, thinking about how much of a pain this face stealer has become. But he knows he does not have time to deal with her now, as something more important is about to happen. A system window appears, announcing that his newbie protection period has ended and a mandatory mission is initiating, and his body begins to dissolve into blue particles as the system teleports him away from the restroom. He is then transported to a large, ominous-looking mansion under a dark and stormy sky. And so the mission begins inside a dimly lit room, where the silhouette of a strange figure is visible through a large window. He sits with a serious expression as a new data interface appears before him, ready for the next challenge. The mission details appear on his screen, revealing it as a scenario mission with the objective to survive until dawn. And so, breaking the fourth wall, he reassures the audience that there will be more chapters as long as they show their support. And the students from before beg him to stay and promise to give him all their tickets if he keeps the story going. Back in the mission, a prompt appears on his screen, asking him to confirm his player ID before he can begin, and he strokes his chin thoughtfully, trying to come up with a suitable name for his in-game persona. He closes his eyes and concentrates, but still struggles to think of a good nickname for himself. A look of pure agony crosses his face as he fails to come up with a single idea for his player ID. He complains that he has no idea what to pick and wishes there was a random nickname generator, before deciding to use his QQ nickname. The system accepts his chosen nickname, Hi Bye, and begins teleporting him into the scenario mission. And so the world around him shatters like glass as he is transported to the mission's starting location. He arrives in a dark room with 3 other players, all standing by a large window as rain pours down outside. A woman with short pink hair smiles, announcing that the last person has finally arrived for the mission. Her male companion pushes up his glasses, looking pleased that their 4th and final team member has shown up. The man with glasses then takes charge, offering to analyze the current situation for the rest of the group. He explains they are playing the role of hikers seeking shelter from a storm, with the gear in their bags as proof. And so their main objective is to survive for 6 hours, but he warns that something in the villa is designed to kill them. A menacing look appears on his face as he emphasizes the word, die, frightening the 2 women in the group. But he quickly lightens the mood, reassuring them that newbie missions are not that difficult if they all cooperate. The hero asks if he has already thought of a way to clear the mission, and the man says he has 2 suggestions. His first suggestion is to follow the rules and explore the villa to uncover its secrets, treating it like a real-life escape room. The man with glasses walks towards the window as he prepares to reveal his second suggestion. At that moment, a massive bolt of lightning strikes outside, illuminating the dark, rainy forest, and so the hero correctly guesses that the second option is to leave the villa and brave the storm to go down the mountain. The older man smiles, confirming that is exactly what he was going to suggest to the group, but Hi Bye argues that leaving the shelter is far more dangerous, and the 2 women agree that the villa seems safer. The man with glasses simply says it was a suggestion, a subtle smirk playing on his lips. The hero interrupts, declaring he has a better idea as he pulls something out of a blue system window. He holds up a large can of gasoline and suggests they just burn the entire villa down, shocking everyone. With a wicked grin, he says modern exorcisms require more efficient methods than the old ways. He then declares that beneath a powerful nuke, all living things are created equal. A hand is then shown hovering over a large red button, ready to unleash total destruction on the area. The short-haired woman quickly stops him, suggesting they stick to the conventional method and explore the villa first. He finally agrees to her more sensible plan, and the rest of the group nods vigorously in relief. They decide to split into pairs to explore the 8 rooms on the first floor and gather information. The hero and the short-haired woman head into the kitchen first, with a timer showing nearly 6 hours remain. Inside the dark kitchen, the woman covers her mouth, looking nauseous, while he calmly shines his flashlight around. He bluntly tells her that if she cannot overcome basic fear, she will only end up getting killed. She denies being scared. To prove her courage, she insists she can explore on her own and nervously reaches for a large freezer door. But inside, she finds a severed head carved from a watermelon that eerily greets her, and she lets out a terrified scream, and the hero quickly catches her in his arms as she recoils in pure horror. He tells her to calm down, explaining that it is just a promotional poster with a face printed on it, and she wonders who would be so twisted as to wrap a watermelon in a poster to make it look like a head. And she then laughs nervously, trying to play it cool by saying that of course she knew it was just a poster. To prove her point, she points to another head in the freezer, confidently declaring she will tear the poster off. She tries to rip the poster off the second head but is surprised when she finds that it will not budge. He calmly informs her that the second one is a real head, not another fake one like the first. The real head in the freezer then opens its eyes and looks directly at her, cracking the ice around it. In her mind, she sees herself dying peacefully in a beautiful field of flowers, accepting her grim fate. But in reality, she faints from the shock, and he scolds her for her lack of courage. With his companion out of commission, he decides it is time to start the main storyline of the mission. He picks up the real head and holds it up, asking it who it is and who was killed by. A brief, comedic scene shows him once again suggesting they just burn the place down, much to his teammates' horror. And his companion has a vivid hallucination of a cheerful public square with people dancing to upbeat music. In her vision, she joins in the dancing, happily moving to the groovy rhythm of the song. But the joyful dance is cut short as she looks at her partner, her smile frozen in place. She sees that her dance partner is a horrifying, decaying corpse with blood streaming from its eyes. The terrifying vision snaps her out of her hallucination, and she falls to the floor, completely terrified. She looks up to see the hero kneeling beside her holding a large boombox and asking if she is awake. He smiles and explains that his upbeat folk music is a great way to dispel the terrifying atmosphere of the villa. The woman, however, is not amused, tearfully telling him that she is now on the verge of being traumatized by his methods. He shines his flashlight around a dilapidated restroom, where bloodstains cover the floor and mirror. After finding nothing, he decides to head back to the living room, and his companion reluctantly agrees. As they walk, the rain continues to pour down outside, adding to the eerie atmosphere of the old villa. He asks his partner what she thinks of his music, but she is more concerned about why he packed a boombox. She then bumps into him, her face pressing against his chest as they continue down the dark hallway. She looks up, flustered, and asks what just happened, her cheeks blushing from the close contact. But he has a serious expression, sensing that something is wrong as he scans the room with his flashlight, and they return to the living room to find the main door wide open, and their teammates nowhere in sight. He notes that there are no footprints in the mud, suggesting the wind must have blown the door open, but inside, he sees two sets of footprints and knocked over snacks, indicating there was a struggle. A confident smirk appears on his face as he declares that the truth of the matter is already obvious. He begins to deduce what happened, explaining that the other pair, Hukshu and Qianxia, encountered danger. Based on the footprints, he concludes that Qianxiao's Enro was injured, and Hukshu was taking care of her. They must have accidentally knocked over the snacks while trying to grab something from the nearby table. He strikes a confident pose, asking his companion if his deduction is correct. Much to her confusion, the other pair returns, looking stunned as he points at them, waiting for them to confirm his theory. The man with glasses calls him a psycho, but the pink-haired woman tells him to just get used to it. The other woman, however, looks terrified and says that she was really attacked by something in the villa. And so, with a look of pure fear, she begins to recount what happened while they were searching the master bedroom. In a flashback, a shadowy hand is shown grabbing her by the throat, pulling her back as she lets out a startled cry. She is thrown to the floor, her makeup mirror shattering beside her as the shadowy hand attacks, and she lies on the ground, struggling to breathe as the ghostly hand tightens its grip around her neck. As she chokes, she sees a dismembered arm lying on the floor a few feet away from her. Her companion Huksu rushes to her side, and she weakly calls out for help as she loses consciousness. He quickly uses a special ability, summoning a small glowing doll that blocks the incoming attack. The doll successfully deflects the shadowy hand, and she explains that he saved her just in the nick of time. She speculates that finding the severed hand triggered the attack, but the hero disagrees, saying the key is not the body parts. He then reveals the true trigger for the attacks, pointing out that she was attacked right after opening her makeup mirror. All the reflective surfaces in the villa, from the boarded-up windows to the stained mirrors, have been destroyed, and so he explains that she created the condition for the attack by using her own portable mirror in the room. But with this new information, he confidently declares that their objective is now simple and straightforward. But his companion argues that it is not simple at all, listing all the other potential reflective surfaces in the villa, and she points out that a single slip-up could lead to a team wipe, making the mission far from simple. The hero acknowledges her point but says they cannot just wait until dawn and must continue their search. And they find a dismembered torso and split up again, with the hero and his partner taking the top floor. In a storage room, they find a severed leg and deduce there should be 6 fragments in total. And they gather all the body parts they have found so far and lay them out on a table to assemble the corpse. As they examine the pieces, they notice that the body is missing one of its arms, and the other woman speculates that the person may have been disabled before death, but her companion has other ideas. And so Hero, now eating instant noodles, jokes that the sealed right hand is an essential component for summoning the dark magician, and he explains that he needs to replenish his energy for thinking, but his teammates question his choice of junk food. And so, he then says he has already solved the puzzle and knows where to find the missing missing right hand. And so, with a confident thumbs up, he tells the group that he will lead them to clear the game if they trust him. The man with glasses is completely shocked, unable to believe that he has already solved the entire puzzle. The hero confirms that he has indeed solved it, a shadow of a blindfold appearing over his eyes. Suddenly, the long-haired woman collapses to the floor, her body trembling as she cries out in pain. The others rush to her side, and her partner asks what is wrong as he cradles her in his arms. He explains that the black shadow attacked her again through a reflection, and her health is dropping fast. The hero realizes the vengeful spirit is breaking free of its restrictions, and they will all die if they do nothing. A vision of all four of them being consumed by the black shadow flashes before his eyes. His companion asks him where the missing hand is, and he turns the question back on her, asking about the mission's purpose, and he begins to walk, explaining his theory about the true nature of the novice mission. He suggests that if her partner had not saved her, she would have just disappeared instead of dying, and so this means the mission is not meant to be difficult, but rather a test of the player's courage. The man with glasses agrees, theorizing she would have been pulled into a mirror world, the true location of the mission. The hero then confirms his theory, stating that the missing hand and the vengeful spirit are all in this mirror world. The older man panics, questioning if he made a mistake saving her and worrying about triggering a death flag. The hero says he originally wanted to split into two groups, but now his teammates are either unconscious or useless. He decides he must go into the mirror world alone, since it was his guess in the first place. The other man tries to argue, but the hero has already made up his mind, ready to face the danger on his own. He knows waiting around is a dead end and decides he has to try reaching for the boarded-up window. His teammate understands and supports his decision, holding his unconscious partner as he prepares. The hero then tears a strip of his shirt off, getting ready for the dangerous task ahead. He hands the other man a small doll, explaining that it can resist one attack from the spirit. He thanks him for the help and asks him to take care of the two women while he is gone. With a final look back, he tears the wooden boards off the window, preparing to enter the mirror world. He stands before a large, ornate mirror, his own reflection staring back at him as he prepares to enter. The surface of the mirror begins to ripple and distort, forming a swirling vortex of energy, and a shadowy hand reaches out from the vortex and grabs him by the throat, pulling him into the mirror. He is then completely sucked into the mirror, disappearing from the room in a flash of light, and so his body is then pulled through the swirling vortex, transporting him to the other side of the mirror. Back in the real world, the remaining players watch in stunned silence as he disappears into the mirror. He arrives in the mirror world, a crimson-hued version of the villa he was just in. He quickly senses a presence and realizes that the vengeful spirit is already there with him. He ducks behind a couch, narrowly avoiding the spirit's attention as it stalks the room. The creature's monstrous, clawed foot steps into view, its movements slow and deliberate. A horrifying zombie-like creature with glowing red eyes and stitched-up skin appears, searching for him. He knows the normal way to win is to find the hand while dodging the spirit, but that is too slow, and so with a determined look, he pulls out a homemade white phosphorus incendiary bomb from his inventory. He declares that special problems require special solutions as he hurls the bomb at the unsuspecting spirit. The vengeful spirit is engulfed in flames, letting out an agonized scream as the fire consumes it, but the creature quickly runs away, and the hero seizes the opportunity to continue his search. He frantically searches through boxes and piles of clothes, desperately looking for the missing hand. He soon becomes exhausted, realizing that the stamina consumption in this world is double that of his previous one. Suddenly, the spirit smashes through a nearby window, its eyes glowing with rage as it lunges at him. He dodges the attack, and the creature tumbles to the floor, where it rolls around to put out the flames. He is shocked that the spirit was smart enough to use the rain to extinguish the fire, foiling his plan. The vengeful spirit then pulls off its own head, revealing a gruesome skull underneath as it prepares to attack again. Its disembodied head flies towards him, its mouth open wide in a terrifying silent scream. He reacts quickly, delivering a powerful kick that sends the flying skull crashing into the wall. With the head temporarily dealt with, he immediately turns and runs, trying to put some distance between them. But the headless body of the spirit also begins to chase him, and he realizes he is now in serious trouble. And so he runs down a dark, narrow hallway, a creepy wheelchair sitting ominously in the corner of the room. The headless body of the spirit follows close behind, calling out to him as it relentlessly pursues him. But the creature steps on a homemade landmine he had placed on the floor, triggering a loud beep. A massive explosion erupts in the hallway, and the hero takes cover, watching the blast from a safe distance. He wishes he could just buy a rocket launcher online as he feels the heat from the powerful explosion. The blast reveals the missing right hand lying on the floor under a chair, and he crawls towards it, and he is overjoyed to have found the final piece of the puzzle, laughing in triumph as he reaches for it. But just as he is about to grab the hand, a sharp, stabbing pain shoots through his back, causing him to cry out. He looks down at his arm and sees a large, bloody bite mark from the vengeful spirit's skull. The skull flies back towards him, vowing to bite him to death for setting its body on fire. He swings his fist and sends the skull flying again, shouting at it to get lost. With the immediate danger gone, the adrenaline wears off, and he cries out in pain from the bite wound. He quickly treats the wound, knowing he needs to stop the bleeding to finish the mission in time. But a creepy, disembodied head with glowing red eyes appears in front of him, having found him again. Back in the real world, a loud scream echoes from the villa as lightning flashes across the sky. The remaining players huddle around a small fire, with only 29 minutes left until dawn. The woman worries that there is still no sign of Bai, and there is only an hour of mission time left. Her companion tells her to be patient and wait a bit longer, but he also looks concerned. She grabs a nearby knife, her expression filled with a newfound determination to take action, and she declares that she is not waiting anymore, and is going into the mirror world to help him. In the mirror world, the hero is breathing heavily, exhausted from the constant fighting and searching. He clutches his chest, thankful that the doll his teammate gave him was able to resist one fatal attack. He now holds the severed right hand, knowing all he has to do is take it to the rooftop and burn it. Just as he is about to leave, his female companion suddenly appears and falls on top of him, and she lands on him with a thud, holding the knife and shouting at the spirit to stay away from her. He looks up at her in disbelief, jokingly asking if she is a spy sent by the other side. She realizes her mistake and quickly apologizes, her face flushed with embarrassment from the awkward situation. As they get up, they see the vengeful spirit watching them from the second-floor balcony of the dark villa, and he explains that the spirit is guarding the rooftop door, so one of them has to lure it away. He asks his companion if she has any weapons, and she eagerly confirms that she does, and she proudly shows him her inventory of cleaning supplies and the knife she brought from the real world. The hero then turns his attention to the vengeful spirit, stomping his foot to get its attention. He taunts the creature, gesturing for it to come and get him as he prepares for a fight. The spirit, enraged, charges at him, demanding that he give back its missing right hand. A confident smirk appears on his face as he prepares to spring his trap on the unsuspecting monster. He then shouts for his companion to attack now, signaling her to make her move from the side, and she charges forward with a mop and broom, letting out a fierce battle cry as she attacks the spirit. The vengeful spirit cries out in alarm, caught completely off guard by the sudden and unexpected attack. He holds the severed hand, which begins to glow with a fiery aura as it reaches the designated mission location. The hand bursts into flames, the intense heat radiating outwards as it prepares to destroy the spirit. The vengeful spirit is engulfed in a massive inferno, screaming in agony as it is consumed by the holy fire, and his companion watches from a safe distance as the creature is completely destroyed by the powerful flames. Back in the real world, the remaining players cheer, realizing that their teammates have succeeded in their mission. A system message congratulates him on completing the novice mission, and he begins to exit the mirror world, and his companion calls out his name from a nearby rooftop, waving the broom and mop in celebration, and she happily tells him she hopes to see him again and asks him not to forget her as they are teleported away. He simply smiles, thinking to himself that he would rather skip the "see you again" part of her farewell. A final screen appears, showing his S-rank evaluation and the rewards he earned for completing the mission. Back in the real world, the hero steps out of the men's restroom, his mission now complete. He is surprised to find Lin Xiaoyi still waiting for him, and he asks why she is still there. She smiles and explains it would be insincere to leave after just one restroom break, and he realizes only 6 minutes have passed. And so, but then she gets a serious look, telling him that something about him seems different than before. He worries that her keen perception as a borrowed face might expose him, wondering what she is planning. She then asks if he washed his hands, and he tells her to get lost, clearly annoyed by her question. As he walks away, she calls out his name and begins to follow him again, undeterred by his rejection. The scene then shifts to the hero back in his room, looking at his updated player stats on the screen, and he sees that he has leveled up to level 3 and gained 2 attribute points, which he puts into Constitution. He knows he still has a long way to go to max out his stats, but decides not to dwell on it for now. A sly grin appears on his face as he thinks about something more important he needs to do. He begins a ritual, first washing his hands thoroughly in the sink to cleanse them of any impurities. He then burns some incense, creating a sacred atmosphere as he prepares for the next step. Kneeling on a pillow, he completes his preparations, his expression filled with a mix of hope and anticipation. With his hands clasped together, he prays to the gacha gods, shouting for the system to let him draw his new skill card. He hopes for a powerful skill, like a Superman physique, as a rare random skill card appears on his screen, and so he then opens the card, a bright golden light exploding from it as the new skill is revealed. He watches in excitement as a ball of golden energy forms in his hands, his exclusive new skill materializing. With bated breath, he waits for the system to display the details of the skill he has just acquired. The skill card reveals 2 new abilities, a Shadow Pass and a Shadow Kingdom Immortality, both related to the Shadow Realm. He is shocked as a dark blue card materializes in his hand, swirling with shadowy energy from the new skill. The system confirms he has successfully obtained the perfect rarity skill Shadow, which allows him to control shadows. the ghost of the Shadow Fiend appears behind him, and he realizes with horror what has just happened. He becomes furious, yelling that the fiend's item has forcibly changed his skill, and vows to tear it apart. He continues to rage, his face contorted in anger at the unwelcome and unexpected change to his abilities. But he eventually calms down, deciding that having a new skill is better than having nothing at all. So his inner angel reminds him that the skill is perfect rarity, but he is concerned about the high learning conditions. The angel then points out the good news, that he is only 2 points short on perception to learn the skill. But his inner devil chimes in with the bad news, that he will have to wait until level 5 to learn it. With a sigh, he decides to focus on leveling up so he can finally use his powerful new skill. Just then, his phone rings, and he sees that he is getting a call from the captain of the official players. He answers the call, wondering what the man could possibly want from him now. So he arrives at the city hospital, where the captain greets him, glad that he could make it. And so the captain explains that only a few of the students from the Shadow Fiend incident have woken up from their comas, and so he fears that if they do not bring their souls back from the fiend's otherworld soon, they will die. And so the captain then asks him if he has a way to travel back to the Shadow Fiend's world to save them. With a serious expression, he confirms that he does, in fact, know a way to get back there. He agrees to help on the condition that he goes in alone, and the captain eagerly accepts his terms. And as they are talking, a woman with green hair appears, wondering what Baijai is doing at the hospital, and so he enters the hospital room where the comatose students are, preparing to enter the otherworld once again. He uses the Shadow Kingdom Pass, and a swirling portal of dark energy opens up before him, and so his body is then enveloped in a purple light as he is teleported into the Shadow Realm. He disappears from the hospital room, leaving behind only a faint trace of purple energy. He arrives in a desolate, abandoned town, the sky a blood-red color as he stands in the empty street. He takes a tentative step forward, the sound of his footsteps echoing in the eerie silence of the town. Suddenly, a monstrous vampire-like creature lunges at him, letting out a ferocious roar as it attacks. He dodges the attack, and the creature crashes to the ground, its claws digging into the cobblestone street. A horde of other monsters appears, all with glowing red eyes, and their leader orders them to kill him. He is now completely surrounded by a variety of horrifying creatures, all ready to tear him apart. He realizes that with the Shadow Fiend dead, these corpses are now out of control, making the situation dire. But then he remembers the other item he received from the previous mission, a look of hope in his eyes. He pulls out the Shadow Kingdom permanent land deed, declaring that he will form a contract with this world. The land deed is successfully used, and a powerful purple energy erupts around him, enveloping the entire area. He is then engulfed in a pillar of purple light as the contract signing process begins, his body silhouetted against the glow. The monsters are all transformed into small, harmless blobs of purple energy, their threat completely neutralized. They then bow before him, their monstrous forms now gone as they pledge their allegiance to him. One of the creatures looks up, its red eyes no longer filled with rage, its expression now one of submission. The monsters all greet him as their new king, their voices a chorus of loyalty and respect. A confident smirk appears on his face as he declares that this town is now his territory. He then finds a shelf full of dolls, realizing they are the trapped souls of the comatose students. As he approaches the dolls, a group of shadowy figures begins to emerge from the darkness around him. He turns to face them, a serious expression on his face as he prepares for another confrontation. But the monsters are not hostile, and they cry out, begging him not to chase them away from their home. They cling to him, pleading with him to let them stay, much to his utter confusion. The dolls on the shelf now have question marks over their heads, just as confused as he is by the situation, and so, he realizes they are afraid of being cast out and assures them he will not, but they must stay in the building. The monsters are overjoyed and offer him a giant cockroach as a token of their appreciation, but he politely refuses. He then decides to go for a walk, leaving the strange creatures behind as he explores his new territory. He walks through the desolate town, the sunset casting a warm, orange glow over the empty streets. He notes that the town is completely dead, with no signs of life anywhere to be found. But then he hears a voice calling out, and he turns to see a bustling marketplace in the distance. He is shocked to find a lively black market full of players trading equipment, skill cards, and recruiting for teams. A man in a pink top hat greets him, offering to give him a tour and some basic intel for a small fee. He pays the 50 game currency, and the man asks why he is even there, assuming he was headed to the auction house. The guide explains that the auction house is a rip-off, and this black market is a much better place to trade. He tells him that this place is a safe lost world, and most of the players who trade here are level 10 or higher. The guide then gives him a special pass as an extra gift for being a new and lucky customer, and he asks the guide if he knows what this place is, but the man admits he has no idea what it was originally called. He warns him not to leave the town, as the monsters outside are numerous and give no experience or items. He now understands that this place has become an unregulated free trading market since the Shadow Fiend's disappearance. he realizes the other players are much higher level and decides to let them stay in his territory for now. And he then asks the guide what the sanity attribute represents, a question that catches the man off guard. The guide smirks, explaining that such valuable intel will cost more than just 50 game currency. He then quotes a new price of fighter game currency, a greedy grin spreading across his face. The hero turns to leave, but the guide quickly stops him, saying they can negotiate the price. He then makes a counteroffer of just 1 game currency, much to the guide's dismay. The man reluctantly agrees, saying it is fate they met and he will consider it a favor to a new friend. He then hands the guide a card worth 1 currency and tells him to start explaining the sanity value. And so, the guide explains that the sanity stat does not increase with a player's level like the other attributes. It is a special stat that helps players resist going mad when they encounter eldritch abominations. He then tells him the information is reliable and asks if it was worth the price, but the hero has already left. A gust of wind blows a piece of paper into the hero's path as he walks through the marketplace. The paper slaps against his face and he pulls it off, curious to see what is written on it. He reads the beginner's guide, which contains all the information the guide just sold him, and more. He crumples the paper in anger, vowing to get revenge on the treacherous merchant for scamming him. And so the scene then shifts back to the real world, showing the outside of the hospital where the students are. The hero is in the hospital room, placing the dolls he recovered on the beds of the comatose students. As he places the last doll, he takes an apple from a gift basket, much to the annoyance of his ex-girlfriend. She scolds him for shamelessly stealing from patients, but he seems completely unfazed by her words. He then asks which of his many ex-girlfriends she is, a question that earns him a swift and powerful slap. She shouts in frustration, reminding him that she was his third ex-girlfriend and asking how he could forget her. He yawns and says he remembers her name, but nothing else, which only makes her angrier. As he walks away, she calls him a jerk, but he is more concerned with his own priorities than her feelings. He knows he needs to level up quickly, as the world is becoming more and more dangerous every day. He is then transported to a digital space, a swirling vortex of blue energy and data streams. A system message announces that a new game has appeared, and all players are welcome to challenge it.